Ed Jones and his beautiful daughter Katie are over there at the table talking all types of healthy eating. So good to have you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we had, Katie, you were in the studio when the musicians were playing, and there were some teachers here from Howard School, and they heard about your segment today with the fermenting food, and one of them said something to you, Katie, about, oh, is that something?
They mentioned kombucha, so that's one type of a fermented drink, actually, that's made from green tea or white tea, and then it's fermented. So we're going to speak a little bit about what fermentation means in terms of health.
Okay, so give us an education here, and why is it so beneficial to you?
Well, before I get specific in this with Katie, I want to explain what the big picture of this. 40 years ago, we started hearing the word yogurt. Then we heard the word acidophilus. Then we heard the word probiotic, and now the word is microbiome. To explain what this really means to every person, if you think of a beehive with the hive itself, that would be me. That would be Ed Jones. All the bees that come to the hive that are helping to produce what we want to maintain health and vitality are considered the microbiome.
Okay.
It's the partners along our journey.
Okay.
We actually have more of the helpers than we do us in a genetic sense.
Okay.
So it's very important. Now just imagine that we introduced ants into this beehive. That's what happens when you take antibiotics and you don't supplement with either probiotics or daily fermented foods. Okay. Fermented foods throughout history, even on the Egyptian walls, have been used. That's why we had such more vital health and so much more superior health back in 1,000 years ago. Other than epidemics, our health was better.
So, okay, is the fermentation and those microbiomes, is their job to help primarily with digestion or with all parts of your health?
It is involved with every aspect of your health, brain chemistry. Why do you think we have so much depression? They make probiotics with mood formulas now. Your immune system, 50% of every single thing your immune system does is based on these guys.
Allergies? Would this help with allergies?
There's nothing it doesn't touch on. Now, I'm doing a test, which is right here, called Ubiome, and we have it now on our website that says explore your microbiome. This is a stool test that you do very easy. You just take a little stick and you dab it and then you send it in. When I did mine, I did it 6 months ago, I was disappointed.
Why?
Because no one works harder to build optimal levels than I do with the products, the foods, and everything.
You failed?
I didn't fail. What I had was a C+, is what I rate myself.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to test again, and I'm going to get a B or an A.
So let's talk through this table of goodies that you have here, because it's the idea that yes, you can take a supplement, but if you can literally do it yourself and ferment your own foods, you're even more ahead of the game?
You need to do both.
Okay.
But Katie can tell all about the foods.
Yeah, so I kind of began my fermentation journey probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it's unbelievable what it's done for my skin, my overall digestion, my immune health, and so I do take a probiotic, which we mentioned here. So that's a pill form of a probiotic. But then I love the fermented foods. So I try to eat them at least 1 or 2 times a day, some form of a fermented food. So I'm just going to kind of touch on what a fermented food is and what we have here. So kefir is a type of fermented yogurt that you can see here. The thing with store-bought kefirs that you want to watch out for is they can have too much sugar. So sugar, even if you're eating a health food and it has a lot of sugar, it's going to take away the value of the health food. So you want a low sugar kefir, which is what we have here.
Okay.
The next thing we have is an extremely low sugar kefir that's actually made locally. The husband and wife make it. It's delicious. To me, it's the best tasting one that I've ever tasted.
Is it a thicker kefir?
It is. It's more like a whipped cream Cool Whip type texture.
So it's great with fruit?
Good. Yes, it's great with fruit.
Okay.
Wonderful. Another type of fermented food is sauerkraut, and this one has been around for ages. So sauerkraut is fermented cabbage. There's different flavors now, like this is a dill and garlic. I'll make some at home with caraway seeds. I make all sorts of different types of sauerkraut, but the essential part of it is the fermented cabbage.
Okay.
So there's another fermented cabbage. You always want to get organic because you are pulling out when you're fermenting. You know, it's going to draw out everything that cabbage took into it when it was growing. So you want to make sure you choose a clean source of cabbage.
And is fermenting different than pickling?
Yes. So pickling could give you some probiotic content, but fermenting is actually allowing it to somewhat age and get a little bit older and then get all these good nutrients and enzymes and bacteria, and so it's going to be stronger than what pickling would do.
All right, and then you've got some liquids down here.
We do. So kombucha, that's another awesome fermented drink. And so like I mentioned earlier, that's made from green tea or white tea, and then it's kept in a kind of a dark place for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It depends on the level that you want to ferment it. And then it makes a delicious probiotic drink. But if you don't want to fool with making it on your own, we have a locally made kombucha that's Blue Indian kombucha. It's delicious. We have it on tap. You can bring in a cup. You can bring in these, half-gallon.
Can you liken it to anything else that somebody may have tasted before? Can you compare it? Is it too distinct?
It's kind of too distinct because...
Okay.
Yeah, it's too distinct to say.
Okay.
It's carbonated and it's fizzy and it normally has a fruit flavor with it, so it's enjoyable.
So it's not sour necessarily.
It does have a sour component, so you
Okay.
kind of have to, it does take a little taste acquiring to get used to it.
Okay.
So,
and now you have this thing here probably called gut feeling. Is that something that you add if you want to make your own kombucha?
this is actually just straight cabbage juice, so from sauerkraut, so if you don't want to eat it, you can actually just take a shot of the juice.
That's what I like.
So yeah, that's a quick, easy way to do it right there.
Okay.
And then finally, I'll just speak of if you're really into it and you just love fermented foods, which I do, you can actually make this stuff at home. So we have things you can make your own kombucha. So this is a kombucha starter. We have make your own kefir, which like I mentioned over there, you can make your own kefir and then make your own yogurt. So that's for people that really want to take it to a whole new level and make their own.
Okay, a few questions that probably the average person would have. Katie, you mentioned that you began this a few years ago and you saw these improvements. I know you're always quick to caution, Ed, that each person's an individual and that nothing generally happens quickly. If you do try to ferment and take the probiotics, about how long before you begin to feel a little different?
Well, keep in mind again that if you have less of the bees and more of the ants going toward the hive, when you start adding this, the ants are not going to like it. So you could have some temporary disturbances in the gut.
Okay.
If you do, you just cut back. But it takes months. We have 3 pounds of bacteria in the gut alone, and most of it's not healthy. So it's going to take many months to do this. And it's not about just putting it in, it's keeping it in. That's where the good diet comes in.
He would tell you 2 things. He would tell you, one, check out his website, which is nutritionw.com, because he always has different blogs and articles for you to read to educate you. That's what Ed is all about. And maybe before you shop, do a little educating of yourself so that when you come in, you know what you want to ask for to best improve your own health. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.